Well, welcome virtually to Bel Arbor Community Garden. My name's Carla Puppin and I'm one of the founding members, and right now I also head up the garden. What you're looking at is a result of 25 years of growth. There was literally nothing here when we started out. It was vacant land. And since then we've matured into a garden that has 23 individual plots and several common areas. And what you'll see a lot of in the garden is a lot of trash finds and treasures. From the beginning, we were all out finding bricks in vacant land, in vacant property where buildings had been torn out, also Belgian blocks where streets had been ripped up. And you'll also see some really big artifacts from a gorgeous building that had been at Broad and Washington Avenues, and it had a beautiful cornice with volutes and all kinds of egg and dart designs. And there were many of us beyond the garden who were out scavenging those with our wheelbarrows, with our cars, and we have bad backs to prove it 25 years later. What else about our garden? We participate in something called City Harvest, which is sponsored by the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, in which prisoners at the Northeast Prison grow seedlings, learn horticultural skills, and then community gardens participate by dedicating a plot or two plots to growing the seedlings and then donating the produce from those seedlings to local food banks. In our case, we donate ours. We take ours up to Ready, Willing, and Able, which is just a few blocks away. We've got 3 composting systems in the garden. We have one for household wastes, for compostables, and that's at the entrance to the garden. That's a spinning composter. This is for any of our vegetable waste. So if you pull up a plant and it doesn't have any diseased or bug infested anything on it like that, you break it up, it goes in here. It's a 2-bin system, so if you've never done composting, you can let stuff sift, and after a couple of years you're going to have compost. In our case, we have this bin where we cut things up, we turn it occasionally throughout the season, and then we have a sifting process that ends up with compost that we then reuse in our garden plots. Our garden is a bit unusual in that we have a fair amount of open space, and that's because we had an unusual beginning. We were actually part of a tree farm, a PHS-sponsored tree farm in the beginning. Anyway, when we acquired this land, we decided we wanted some open space and trees, and we created a mini meadow, which is a perennial meadow. We've got grasses and perennial flowers that come up every year. It's at the height of its color right now, and what you're looking at, that brilliant yellow, is goldenrod that's swooping over. The brilliant purples are all asters, and the individual flowers that look like sunflowers is actually Jerusalem artichoke, which is actually a real invasive. If we were to let this go, it would cover the meadow in a couple of years. But the meadow attracts all kinds of insects, bees, birds. We have a bat who nightly flies over in summertime, gathering our mosquitoes. We also have snakes in the garden. So along here are, to my left, are 5 or 6 trees that were part of the original tree farm. And they are at full maturity. They're 25 years old. We have redbuds and crab apples. We're unusual in having so many trees in our garden, but this also forms a barrier to what is stark urban living on the other side. That is to say, that's Washington Avenue. It's a busy thoroughfare. We've got a CVS behind us with nothing but asphalt, and so we have this really nice buffer in the garden, as well as a shaded area. So we let this kind of go wild. We're limbing up and pruning the trees so that they don't shade the meadow and the gardens that are on the other side. But essentially, it's a really nice balance between having dense green that's going to attract all kinds of wildlife and garden plots so that we can grow food. Up on the berm, we also have a beehive. One of our gardeners is an official beekeeper. And the last couple of years it's been tough to keep the queen alive, so it's been a learning process, I think, for him in the difficulty of managing a beehive. But it's been very cool to have the bees, to know that we're sustaining that entire system to the extent that we can in our garden. We have several spaces where gardeners can congregate, and actually in this COVID summer it's been really great because we have been able to come in and discreetly get together, even 6 feet apart, whether it's families or just a couple of friends. And this picnic table back here has a really interesting story. Local contractor came and said he was clearing out his garage and wanted to know if we wanted the wood, and of course we said yes. The wood sat there for a couple of years, and then two of our gardeners turned it into this great table. We live in the heart of South Philly. It's dense. Most of us have little tiny backyards. So this is like a big communal backyard in addition to being a community garden. We come out, we grill individually every year. Summer solstice, we have a wonderful community and communal barbecue to celebrate the solstice and celebrate all the good food that we make. So these very mature trees are trees either that came from when we had the tree farm, and you see what happens after 25 years, and then further along is our mini orchard. We have 6 fruit trees, 3 cherries, 1 apple, and 1 apricot. Does that add up to 6? No, I'm missing one. In any case, what we've learned over the years is that it's pretty hard to grow fruit trees. You need to pay a lot of attention, and so we've had limited success, most with the cherry tree. But it adds a kind of dimension to our garden that we've really enjoyed. When we first started out the garden, we were hooking up to the fire hydrant down the block, and we had to fill individual barrels, and then we were lucky enough, again through the support of the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, to have an in-ground water system put in. So we have a couple of different spots where we have spigots, and so we can turn on water and then water as we need to throughout the garden. So that's probably one of the primary things with any community garden, is where your water source is and how easy it is to access water. And we're lucky in that way. And again, it's because of the help of PHS and also Neighborhood Gardens Trust. So this is our barbecue pit, which was made in-house, so to speak, by a contractor. We're really good at finding barbecue grills that have been left out on the sidewalk when people are moving, I guess. So we have an accumulation of assortment of barbecue grills that we can use. And so, yeah, this is another area to my left that where gardeners come out to socialize, just to hang out. And again, in COVID summer, it's been great to be able to come out, maintain 6-foot distance, do all the good practices, but still be able to be outside. When we started the garden, in addition to rummaging and trash finding all of our bricks, so we also had some really good garden designers. And so in these kind of brick pattern is all very deliberate and laid out by one of our gardeners who has a great sense of design. And at the same time, over here, this is like the marble treasure path that another of our gardeners laid out, with all of the pieces of marble that he had picked up that he could not discard, and he found the perfect place for them. And then tucked in between the larger pieces of gravel are little marble pieces that the little kids, we've gone through waves of little kids, and we have another bunch of little kids in the garden right now. So it's their delight to find the marble pieces, and the golden rule is that they have to put them back somewhere in those paths.